Okay, so in this video I'm going to show you how to set up the dovetail jig right here to make dovetails for the drawer. Really any kind of drawer you want to make, but specifically for our cabinet in woodworking. So to do that, what I have here is I have my 4 pieces cut out. I've already cut them. I've already, as you can see, I've cut the grooves in each piece for the drawer, and in those grooves is where the base of the drawer is going to sit. So if I put them together, you can see right inside here, that is where the base of the drawer is going to be. But before we can assemble this, we have to cut the dovetails out. And before you can do that, we have to get all of these pieces labeled and laid out so that we know what we're cutting. So the first thing you want to do is you want to label all of your corners. Alright, we have to make sure that each corner corresponds with each other, otherwise it's going to get mixed up in the dovetail jig. So we're going to put a number 1 in this corner, and we're also going to put a number 1 in this corner. Okay, we're going to put a number 2 up over here, and we're going to put a number 2 right there. This is going to be a number 3, and this is going to be a number 3, and a 4, and a 4. Okay, I know you probably can't see that on the camera, but when I dovetail these together, I have to have a number 1 with number 1, number 2 with number 2, 3 with 3, and so on and so forth. So that's what has to happen when I am dovetailing them together. Also, another thing you might want to do as well is write on it which one is the front, okay, which one is the back, and then this is a side, and this is a side. That's important also for when we're lining things up in our dovetail jig. We want to make sure that we know which one goes where. So that's the first setup thing you have to do before you can really do anything else on the dovetail machine. I have the boards all planed down, they're to a 1/2 inch thick, and then I have the grooves cut in each and every single one of these boards. I want to do that, and then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run through the dovetail machine, and I will show you how to do that. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to cut the dovetails, how to line everything up on this machine, how to use the router, and how to cut all 4 dovetails so that you have a beautiful looking drawer for your cabinet. So what you need to do first, you need to assemble your first 2 pieces you're going to cut. You'll cut 2 pieces at a time, and that will make 1 corner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use both number 1s. So if you look up here, I have a number 1 on both pieces, and I'm going to use both number 1s, and I'm going to cut that corner first. Okay. Now, as you probably can't see it on the video here, but on the machine, right up on the top, it says groove showing. Now what that means is you want to have the groove that you've already cut facing you, so it's showing towards the top. If you mix that up, you're going to end up with one of the grooves on the outside of your drawer, and that's not going to work very well to slide in the panel for the base of your drawer. So you want to make sure you have the groove showing towards you first of all when you're setting this machine up. The second thing you'll see when you get by the machine is it's going to say front and back up on the top here. Okay. Now what that means is you want to have the front. Okay. So if this is my front, I already have that labeled. I'm going to put the front up on the top here, and the sides I'm going to put down here facing this way. And again, it's all labeled on the machine here. It tells you exactly where you need to put each piece. So I'm going to set this up. I'll try to explain some things here as I go. In the video, you can probably see along the side here, there's little guides. The pieces, when you slide them in, they have to be tied up against the guides. And actually, when you put them in, they are not going to be lined up with each other. They're going to actually be kind of like this. Okay? And what that's going to do is that's going to allow the dovetail router to cut the dovetails in, and when I put them together, they'll line up perfectly. But you want to have both grooves showing, okay, and it's going to actually, like I said, not line up perfectly with each other when you cut them. Okay, so I'll set this up and then kind of explain some things as we go. So I'm going to take my front, okay, with the groove showing, and I'm going to slide it into the top here, okay? You shouldn't really have to adjust any of these levers or adjustment knobs on here. They should be pretty well set up and ready to go for you. If you need to adjust them, you can adjust just a little bit. So I'm going to slide this one all the way up in here, and I'm just going to leave it in loose for now, and I should push it as far as I can to the right. And what that's going to do is it's going to push it up against a black stop in here, and I shouldn't really be able to push it any farther than a certain distance. And then I'm going to take my side, okay, and I'm going to make sure I have my number 1 with the number 1 over here, and I'm going to put that down in the bottom here, okay, and I'm going to push that all the way up so that the end grain is all the way at the top up here, okay, and again I'm going to push it all the way to the right, and I'm just going to slide this lever down, and that's going to lock this one in place, okay, so this one is locked in place right now, and you really can't move it, okay. Now I'm going to finish by putting in the top one, and I'm going to push it all the way up so it's tight up against the other piece that I've already put in. And there should be no gap in between these pieces here, and I should push it all the way to the right and all the way forward. And once I have that and they're perfectly flush with each other, I can now lock this one into place as well. So now they're both locked into place, and I can't move either one. And if you see, they're staggered from each other. They're not perfectly flush on the outside edges, but they are on the top. Okay, and I have both grooves showing and both number 1s matched up with each other right there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these with the router. Now on that router, there's a little guide that looks like this, and what that guide is going to do is it's going to actually slide in between this jig here. Okay, so really it's pretty easy to router because the guide on this router right up at the top here by the bit just slides right in those grooves, and it's going to cut the dovetail in. Okay, so I'm going to set that up, and I will cut that for you. All right, now so for cutting these, again, like I said, it's pretty easy to do. The depth should already be set for you, and this little thing here will ride right inside of these grooves in the jig. So it's pretty easy to do. I just like to get down low enough so I can see what I'm cutting, and you just run it through. A lot of times I like to run it through 2 times to make sure I have everything cleaned out and it got a nice clean cut, and then we can test it and see how it fits. Okay, so after I cut it, now I'm going to take the pieces out, and when I take them out, be careful on this one here, because if I loosen the clamp, the piece will fall out, and it could potentially hit the ground, and if I have dovetails already made on the bottom, it's probably going to break them. So just be careful of that. I always hold on to that one as I'm taking it out. Set that aside, take this one out here, and now we can check our fit. So we should have... looking at this, it should be a pretty tight fit, okay, which a lot of times we have to either run it through a second time, or what you're going to want to do is hit it with a rubber mallet to get them to tighten all the way in. So if you're having a hard time putting them together, you can kind of bang them on the bench here a little bit, and that's going to give us a nice looking dovetail right there, okay? And when you look at it from all angles, it's nice and flush on the outside edge. The top matches up very good with the other piece, and there's really no gaps in here. So it should be a nice and tight fit when you are done. And then when you're done with that one, you're going to take it apart. Okay, now that I've put it in, I should be able to pull it back apart, take it apart, and now bring it back over to the rest of your pieces, and you can continue making each and every dovetail. I have 1 out of 4 complete. Now you just need to make the other 3, and you'll have yourself part of your drawer finished.